Oh, look at that. It even comes with a little cup. Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary, where I do the research to try to teach you a little something about what you're drinking. Tonight we're going to be talking about Tincup. Now specifically the Tincup American Whiskey as well as the relatively new Tincup Rye. This only really came out a couple of months ago and it's still not really in distribution. I believe it is just now entering distribution at the beginning of June. So we're going to talk about both of these. We're going to start with the regular Tincup American Whiskey. But while I'm pouring this, let me just tell you a little bit about the company. So Tincup is named after this little town on the western side of the Rocky Mountains called Tincup. And the town, as well as the whiskey, are named after the little tin cups that the miners would drink out of after a day working underneath the mountain. And so this is essentially an homage to the miners, and I love that. Obviously, this is a little gimmicky. A lot of people will notice this on the shelf, and I will say that a lot of people buy this whiskey because they see this on the top and they think, oh, cool, I'm getting a free glass. So it's great marketing, right? And don't tell me that you guys haven't thought about it. So I have a question for you guys while I'm kind of talking. My bottle of Tincup came with this little guy. It's like a little thing, kind of hooks onto on the bottle. It's got a little string. How many of you guys leave those things on your bottles when you get them? I'm just curious if I know I'm not alone because there's other of you out there that collect things, but I'm curious if that's typical. Do you just throw them away usually, or do you keep them on the bottle? Anyway, while we're talking, so let's talk about the bottle here because the bottle is very cool. I don't normally talk too much about bottles, but I do want to point out some things here that are pretty good marketing. So obviously, as I mentioned, the tin cup on top is going to grab some people's attention. But on the side of the bottle, you've got this TCCO, and that's Tincup, Colorado. You've also got 5,251 feet for elevation, which is Denver, Colorado, which is where this is made. And then it's a hexagon, which lately, a lot of the marketing around Tincup has been focusing on this outdoorsy nature and the fact that you could take this with you when you're backpacking. Now, I used to do a lot of backpacking, and having something like this, kind of a cheaper whiskey, mid $20 range, to bring with me, I mean, honestly, it would weigh a lot on a pack that I would normally bring, but bringing some alcohol along was fine. I would usually just, pack my water or pack a filter instead of my water, and I'll bring some alcohol with me. It's totally fine. But the idea of a hexagonal bottle is not new to ryes, and this used to be based on a rye mash bill. So maybe that's why I did not see how long they've been using this hexagon bottle, but I can tell you that as long as I've known Tincup, they have been. So that could be why, but fair point, that's a guess. So aside from that, the hexagon bottle, they say it doesn't roll down a hill, which is fair. It's not a round bottle, it won't. So I'll give it to them. Either way, I think just the marketing around this is pretty cool. So, all right, let's go ahead and start tasting this whiskey. So we've got a number 3 char on this. It is an MGP juice, and it is aged in Indiana for about 3 years before it gets up to Denver, Colorado, where they cut it with Colorado's water, but they also blend it with a small amount of a Colorado single malt. So that's what you're going to be drinking. So let's go ahead and give this a nose and a taste. Now, the nose on this is okay. Keep in mind, keep your expectations at the level of a mid-$20 whiskey. So I'm not going to be comparing this to Blanton's or something like that. But the nose on this is okay. You're getting some lemons. You're getting just a general citrusiness. And I've noticed that that's kind of a key part with lower end, I don't know if I want to say lower end, but cheaper whiskeys. You don't necessarily get all of the definition that you get in some of the higher ones. It's almost one of those things that you pay for, right? So when I smell this, I just get mostly citrus, which is a combination of a few things. But I'd say the prevailing note is probably lemon. One thing that's interesting is I'm also smelling ginger in here, which is not a common nose for me. But I don't know if that's environment tonight, just kind of being here, or if that's what I'm getting. But I had it in my notes beforehand, and I also smell it now, so I'm going to give it to him. I think ginger's pretty good. There is kind of an overall sweetness to the nose as well, which is nice. I kind of like this. So cheers, guys. Now, as you can see, I've obviously drank quite a bit of this. So this is not my first rodeo trying this sip here. I'll give it some credit and I'll give it some detractors. So let's start off with the detractors, because I think there's fewer of those. The first sip of this, any night or any time that you drink it, is a little harsh. It does grow on you, as most whiskeys do, as you drink it more and more. And I would say one of the first things you're really going to be tasting is kind of a vanilla with a little bit of a black pepper to it. And it's got kind of a little bit, what do you want to call it? It's got that drying kind of tannin-y thing going on, but it doesn't taste of oak. So that's a little confusing because those two typically go together. The taste here kind of could be elaborated a little bit with some cinnamon roll. Cinnamon and, yeah, I guess cinnamon roll, I'd say, because it does have the sweetness going on along with the cinnamon. So I said detractor. So like I said, the first sip is not great, but it's a little bit watery as well. But as I said, I'm trying to keep my expectations to a $20-something bottle. So let's continue and have just one more sip here. Okay. One of the notes that they had on their website that I'll say I'm not really getting is caramel out of this. That is something that I taste pretty reliably in anything that I think has it. So I'm gonna say that I'm not getting that. If it's in there, it hasn't shown up in half a bottle. So I'm gonna leave it at that. There's very few notes going on. But let's talk a little overall about this whiskey, and then we'll go on to the rye. And then I'll probably drink both out of the little tin cups, and I've got a little something fun planned for the end of this video actually as well. But let's talk about this overall. I kind of like this whiskey, and I think that's the best I'm going to be able to give it. And let me tell you kind of a quick little story. So during this whole thing that we're all going through, I won't say certain keywords because it'll get me demonetized, but this thing that is happening during the first half of this year. I've been doing a weekly call with some friends, and we do kind of like a Skype or whatever. We were using Discord for a little while, and we would talk. And one night I found myself starting to write this episode right before we got on that call. And so I was drinking this. And before the end of that call, I had drank like 6 of these. And as the night progressed, I found that it was an enjoyable thing, not because of necessarily the situation I was in, which, I was having fun talking to friends and whatever. We were goofing off. I think we were playing Cards Against Humanity digitally, so that was always fun. And the more we drank, the better it got. But more so, it was super easy to drink, and because of that, it went down really easily. And this makes for a dangerous whiskey because of that. I probably could have drank this entire bottle that night, and I would have regretted it the next day because it was a Thursday and had to work. But I totally could have drank a good chunk of this bottle. So I like it for that. I think that's probably its major selling point to me. It's inexpensive. It's super easy to drink. I would see this as a good thing for a college kid to buy instead of, say, like a bottle of Jack or some other things, because it's right in a really good price range for somebody in that situation. That being said, I think your friends are going to tear through this thing, and they're going to be mixing it, and it's going to be gone. So keep that in mind too. All right. Let's go ahead and move over to the rye, because this is exciting. I generally like ryes, but that wasn't a very good pop. I generally like ryes. However, they're kind of few and far between the ones that I really love. Few that come to mind are, say, like New Riff or Pikesville has always been a favorite of mine. There's a couple of other ones as well. But this one in particular is... All right, well, let me just give you some stats. So this one's 90% rye. And it's, as I said, it's fairly new. It's about $30. So let's go ahead and just kind of jump into the nosing and the taste, and then I'll give you some more opinions in the overall. One of the more prevalent notes on this one, on the nose, is mint, actually, which is not uncommon. Well, I should say it is uncommon for rye, but it happens. So mint is pretty heavy, specifically like a peppermint. It's got kind of a cooling, like I don't want to say crisp, but there's a difference there. Maybe a little bit of like an herbaliness to it or something. I'm having trouble describing that, but it's more than just like a mint leaf. It's more like a treated, almost like a gum pepperminty kind of thing going on. So additionally, you're smelling, actually, I think I don't get this ever. And I think part of it is because I don't really eat pickles, but I'm smelling like dill pickles in here. And I know that that's a common thing for a lot of you guys with rye, but for me, that doesn't happen. I don't really like pickles. I'm sorry if that's sacrilegious. So, all right, let's go ahead and take a taste. Cheers, guys. As you can see, I've drank significantly less of this. And let me think. This has a classic kind of MGP rye taste to it. Now, this is only cut with Colorado water. It's not blended with the single malt, at least not that I saw. If I'm wrong, then please correct me in the comments. But that was not what I found in my research. It was just cut with water. And I believe this is, actually I should probably tell you a couple of quick things here. This is 45. I believe this is 42. So I'm sorry for not putting that in the right order. But so this is 45. So 90 proof. And, high rye. It's okay. The problem I'm having with the rye is for $35 I can get Pikesville. And I love Pikesville. Is that true, 35? If that's not true, I'll correct myself here. I could be totally wrong. Either way, for $35 or $30, I'm trying to think of another rye that I would compare this to. And there's a lot of MGP out there. What I do think this has going for it is there's a little special something that I believe must be that Colorado water. Because it does taste a little different. But if you put this in front of me, I could tell you it was an MGP. Now, I've gone on record before saying I have no problem with MGP. I think they do plenty of good stuff. And to Tincup's credit, they purposefully source from MGP because they want to keep their price low to put out a decent product so that everybody can enjoy it. And that's good. They totally own up to the fact that they're using MGP. They make absolutely no attempt to hide that. So credit where credit's due. And producing a good product for cheap is worth something. All right, so let me try another sip of this because I definitely haven't really given this proper attention here. I realize this is a little bit more casual than most of my normal episodes. I was kind of feeling that tonight, especially drinking kind of like a lower priced whiskey. I felt like this is meant to be relaxing, and I kind of wanted to make this episode a little different than I normally do. This is one that I think will grow on me over time, but right off the bat, I can't say it's anything terribly special. They're very different whiskeys from each other, for sure. And if I had to choose one, I know that I probably would be in the minority here, but I think I would probably choose the regular American whiskey, only because it's different. This is like a dozen other MGP whiskeys I've tasted. There's something going on here that I like. Don't love, but there's something going on here that I like. Are either one of these worth your money? Let's say, let me actually even rephrase it. Are either one of these worth my money? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. This guy right here, fantastic for mixing. Totally. I like it. Neat. This right here, yeah. I think I would make a pretty good Manhattan with that. I don't mind it neat. But as I said, I'm not wowed. So now here's the fun part that I mentioned. I said that there was going to be a little something fun. So there are two things I'm going to do here. And one of them is, first, a couple of things that they had on their website. Promoting this whole outdoorsy lifestyle. They said, hey, if you're in the woods and you've got this with you, I want you to grab some pine needles, and I want you to put them in a cup with them, and with the whiskey, and I want you to see, how it tastes. So I went outside, I grabbed some pine needles. I will say, I as I mentioned earlier, I did a ton of backpacking as a like early 20s or so. And one of my favorite things to make tea out of were spruce and pine needles, both of them. Pine needles have vitamin C in them, so they were great. And I always felt great after drinking my pine needle tea. Spruce had a great taste. So when I saw that they wanted me to put pine needles in this, I thought that was kind of cool. I have no idea if this is going to end up spilling everywhere. I might have to take these out, but I'm going to go for it. I've had these in here for about a half hour, figuring that they would probably do something to it. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. For those of you who have the Whiskey Dick Glencairn, this is poured up to the For Science line, just so you can appreciate. All right, so smells a little piney. Actually, it smells a lot piney. All right, I'm going to leave those in there. I'm just trying to prevent these from going up my nose as I drink. All right, hold on. I'm doing it side by side because there could be something going on there. And I will absolutely give them credit if they found something cool to do with a whiskey. So that's interesting. Hold on. All right, you guys got to bear with me for a minute here because this is science here. I'm doing science. You know, that's a damn good idea. It actually does taste it does taste different. It's got a little bit more, it has a little pine to it, and that's fun. That's actually taken me back just a little bit. I haven't made pine needle tea in a long time. Obviously this isn't tea, but the taste of pine needles is still something that my brain remembers, and I have fond memories of that. That is a fun, stupid thing to do, and I love it. Good job, Tincup. That's pretty neat. All right, well, if any of you guys feel like trying that, by all means do. It's not a dumb idea. Sort of. All right, the other thing that they said was that Tincup goes really well in a hot toddy, so I'm going to go make a hot toddy. Let's see if the Tincup holds up to the hot toddy. Yeah, totally does. Tastes like a nice lemony, slightly boozy tea. It's pretty good. And in general, you're not tasting the Tincup so much, but you're feeling its presence there. So, quick recap. This guy would be great. This guy could be great. I think the right way to think about Tincup is potentially neat, but mostly mixed. If you want to mix them, this is a nice smooth rye that would go well in a mixed drink. If you want to drink it neat, this is what I would prefer or suggest that you buy, but keep your expectations in line. It's $22, $23. This is $30. So, that being said, if you want to throw some freaking pine needles in it, then go ahead and do it, because it's not bad. Thank you for joining me here on the Whiskey Dictionary, and have a great rest of your night. I got some weird drinking to do tonight. Cheers.